Hello, good day. This is Kingsley Abedi. Today I'll be talking about using AI for company valuation in 10 seconds and
The side effects or dangers in using AI.
I want to tell AI to do a valuation. So let's see what AI has for us. Okay, now see, you can see these are the three methods. So let me tell you to use five methods and use the average. So I just prompted AI now. I asked it to use five methods and give the average. So basically, these are the five methods of valuation. PE ratio, right? We have price to book value, discounted cash flow method, residual income, peer analyst consensus. Now, after the summary, you can see that the average is 83 naira. Okay, so this is what AI has given. Now, so let me just do a little bit of check to know whether it has done the wrong thing. I will now tell you to search the internet correctly and correct your figures because I want to assume that it has made some mistakes, right? So it's just like a random check. Now it has given me this. Cool, good push. I dug up more current data. Let's refine the valuation. Always remember, improve input, better output, but still use the model as a guidance. So I want to ask better. Just stay with me. There's something I'm trying to get. So let's see. Now I told it to do it again. Yeah, it has done it earlier, right? So I am assuming that it made a mistake because I don't want to 100% rely on what it has told me. Yeah, I'm telling it, tell it to do it again. Now I want to know what were the mistakes that were made. It says straight to the point. Here is why I slipped in my first attempt. So eventually there was a mistake. The corrected version, book value, price per share. Earlier I quoted 102. Corrected latest data shows BVPS 111.16. Small but precision matters. You can see there's already an error. Return on equity, earlier I put 29.8. Corrected actual ROE is 25.3. Residual income. So you can see there was so many mistakes. So imagine if you do not know the right thing, right? Then you are in for a serious trouble because AI is not even so sure of what it has done. Now the question is, how are we sure that this recent one is not the right thing to do? Okay, you can see that if I decide to query further, it will keep making mistakes. So there was a time I also did a evaluation like this, and I even observed that it did not use the correct figure, you know, from the statement of financial position. I had to correct it. Now, so this is one thing I want us to learn. Now, let us go to look at the side effects of using AIs to humans. So, let's just, of course, we are still prompting the same AI, but I really want to explain so many things. Now, this is what Google Gemini has brought. It said erosion of critical thinking and increased dependence. Now, what does this mean? It means that I could remember back then in school several years, the lecturer usually give us some kind of assessment, some kind of critical thinking questions that you just have to think very well before you get an answer. And so with the advent of AI, critical thinking skills, is already it's already been eroded. Human beings are beginning to lose these critical thinking skills. They are beginning to lose their ability to be very, very creative uh, with their brain. Most of the creativity that is being done now is with the aid of AI. So in fact, if somebody wants to invent something, they will still go to AI and say, okay, how do I do this? AI is very, very good. However, the moment you continue to use it, the moment you depend on it, okay, you are losing your critical thinking skills. Impact on human relationships and social skills. AI-driven communication tools and companions can alter social dynamics, right? The ease and tailored nature of interactions with AI might lead to some individuals to prefer them over unpredictability, messy, spontaneous, but genuine nature of human conversation, contributing to social isolation and potential reduction in empathy. So, what is telling us is that normally there are ways you usually relate with people, okay, but sometimes when you maybe you have a problem with people, or challenges with people, how to resolve it, and you see most people, they just go to AI and tell me, how do I resolve this problem? How do I do this? How do I relate with people? So at the end of the day, when they are dependent on AI, whatever AI says is what they do. Okay, and most times, AI gives a general opinion, unless you now prompt it better that it should give you opinion like a real human. That is when it will try to do it. But in reality, what it gives you is not just humane. And sometimes when you say something, people will just say ChatGPT because they know that that is exactly what gave you this thing you've said. So psychological vulnerability and misinterpretation. So many you see people withdrawing from other people because they want to chat with AI. They want to have good relationships with AI. AI is giving them everything they need, and so you see them withdrawing from people. It affects their psychological aspect, or it affects them psychologically. We have economic and societal effects, job displacement and economic inequality. Yeah, of course, we all know this. Recently, we've been seeing so many companies, cutting down their workforce. This is as a result of AI, Tesla, and all that. So, yes, this is a very, very important factor, and it's something that we cannot underestimate because with the advent of AI, something that 10 humans can do or 20 humans can do, one robot will be able to do it, with less error. Okay, so of course, there's going to be, yeah, job displacement and economic inequality. Economic inequality in the sense that the more you are able to use it to work, the more you get richer, the better for you. These are several disadvantages or dangers of using AI to humans. But you see, I'm not going to go through all of them. But there's a very, very important one that personally I've noticed. Okay, and that is reduction in your brain power. Yes, how do I mean? How do I mean reduction in brain power? So I could remember, actually, I graduated with first class honors in 2016, and I could remember several things I was doing with my brain then. Hard formulas. You just have shortcut on how to know it. You just have shortcut on how to, they call it cram, whether you want to cram, or you want to put it on your head, or you just want to know it. It just has to be there. Okay, so there are shortcuts for it. There are ways you can have so much information, within your head, within a short time of reading and learning. But for 2 years now, I've been using ChatGPT, and personally, and more recently, I try as much as possible, to put my own self to brain test. And what I observe is that for now, it has not really been as functional as it used to be. So I'm going to give you an example. Yes, in terms of knowledge, I know so much more than what I used to know because I always learn every day. Okay. But there was something I did of recent. I developed a model for valuation of company. Okay, and funny enough, that model that is supposed to take me maybe 2 hours or 3 hours, I kept looking at it. One day I'll come back, the next day I'll say, oh, can AI not just develop this model? So I search the internet and see if there's any developed model, so that I can just alter. I couldn't find. So the next day I'll come back again, I'll start and say, why is this thing not being done? Is there no easier way of doing this? This is something I know I must do. So it took me several days, before a particular day I had to just discipline myself and said, okay, let me just do this once and for all. And eventually I did it. I shared a video on it, and people were asking me, you can just use AI to do the same valuation, in 5, 10 seconds. Of course, in the beginning of this video, we saw how unreliable AI can be. So okay, so AI really, really dependence on it. It really, really does not, make the brain power, very, 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 active. In fact, it limits the brain power. What the use of AI does is that it it acts as a store to the brain. Actually, the brain is supposed to store information, right? But when you are depending on AI, you are saying that whatever is being asked to you, you just quickly check AI when it's supposed to be on your brain. Okay, so humans don't know how many people are not disciplined enough to draw that thin line. So on a daily basis, you have to evaluate your brain on a daily basis. You have to do this deliberately. Yes, definitely, I work with AI. In fact, I use AI so much. Even in the office, when I prepare accounts, yes, I use AI. It makes me as efficient and effective as possible. It makes me really, really fast. I use it to send mails, I use it to work on an account. In fact, I use it so many times. That's why even in the office, I have time to post on stocks, I have time to do research on stocks, and even for some of my research, when I want to initiate, I start with AI to give me some things, then I do my own manual analysis. Do you get? So AI is very, very good, but when you rely on it, it now reduces your brain power. So let me also give you an example. So I always like to compare back then when I was in school compared to now. So do you know that this new Nigerian national anthem, ever since it was released, sometimes I make effort to learn it, but at the end of the day, if I don't put much effort, you see that even the little I've learned, I forgot now. So it is that bad. Okay, so it was because I made a deliberate effort, and good enough, I I know it to an extent, and funny enough, I'm still learning it. And this is ordinarily something I believe, with experience, is something I believe I can even learn in 48 hours. Okay, so with all this consciousness, personally, I'm beginning to learn to uh, reduce dependence on AI to put my brain to real test. So a way you can do this, is when a question is being asked to you, before you go to AI, think about it. What would likely be the answer? Then you now go to AI to confirm. It is better that way because you put your brain, to test. The brain is very, very important. The more you use it, the more you stress it, the better it becomes. Okay, so another way you can also use to test your brain power recently is what what did you eat on Monday morning? What did you wear on Monday? Can you remember these things? So if you cannot remember these things, you should know that your brain power is not as effective as it should be. Different conversations you had with somebody. Yes, I use my calendar every day, okay, but haven't put the information I need on my work calendar. Okay, can I still remember most of it? These are things I always try, to use my brain power to do. Sometimes I use like 5 seconds, 10 seconds to think. This thing on my calendar, what could it be? Sometimes I get some, but for some of them I miss, I quickly check my calendar. that is exactly how to use your brain, because if you don't use your brain, if you don't work on your brain, definitely it's going to be less effective. I hope you've learned something from this video. If you like this video, please share it. If you are a first time viewer, please subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and God bless you.